So, today's dream was exceptionally strange. What dream isn't? It seemed to start out with me simply walking down the street in my old neighborhood when I was a kid. And what I remember is I passed my old house, or the first house that I lived in, and I was looking at it, and I thought to myself, boy, it's changed a lot. And for some reason I had the thought that they had turned it into a duplex, because I saw two doors. And then I was standing there looking at it, and one door opened, a couple people came out, the other door opened, a couple people came out. And I was thinking, it's a shame they let the house go so bad or whatever. So I started to walk down the road a little bit further, and I saw one of my coworkers, and he was kind of limping. And I came up to him and I said, "Hey, you need some help?" And he's like, "Oh man, that'd be great." And for some reason, I grabbed a hold of his chest, around his chest, and I started lifting him. It's strange. And he says, "Yeah, this will get me home in a hurry." So we get all the way to his house, and I said, "Oh wow, you've got a nice house." And he's like, "Oh, thank you, thank you. Just watch out for all the dogs." And so I walk inside and I look around, and there must have been 20 dogs, all different kinds of dogs, and there were a few cats. And I said to him, "With so many dogs, are you a breeder? Do you have a license for all these dogs?" And he says, "No, they'll never find out." And I just kind of went into his kitchen, and the house seemed so open. All the rooms were kind of combined. And I'm going into the kitchen, and there was it's hard to explain. There was a big, turkey plate where you set a turkey on, but it wasn't a turkey. It was like a skinned dog that had been cooked. And it was weird, because I turned to him and I said, I don't understand, what are you doing here? And he says, he said, "They're nutritious." And I just kind of said, "Well, isn't that kind of illegal?" And he said, "They'll never find out." And then he holds up what looks like a turkey leg, but I knew it was part of the dog or the cat or whatever animal it was. And he says, "You want to try some? It's really good." And he's got one, and he's chomping one. And he's got, full. His mouth is full, and he's, "You want to try one?" I said, "No, I'm not about to get sick." And I started looking at it a little bit closer, and I could see these mealworms all over the place. And I just kind of said, "Okay, well, I'm out of here. I hope I never see you at work again," kind of feeling. And so I start to walk towards the door, and I hear a knock at the door, and I look through the peephole, and it's two cops standing there. And one of them was my dad, which my dad really isn't a cop. And I opened the door, and I said, "Is there a problem, officer?" And my dad says, "You're kind of out past curfew." And I explained to him I was helping my coworker home, and he said, "Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to go downtown." So I just kind of stand there for a second, and I said, "Well, what's the chief going to think?" And he says, "You're right. Well, why don't you just get out of here?" And so I get in my car, which is parked out there, and I'm driving. And I look over, and there's a few beer bottles there that are open. And I thought to myself, great, what's next? And I had this uncontrollable urge to drink one. And so I got one and I started drinking it, and I looked in my rearview mirror and I could see my dad's face as clear as day, and he was doing this. And I could hear on the radio, his radio, that they were on a lookout for me or whatever. So I saw him reach up for the top and push a button or something like that. Of course, the hazards came on. And I pulled over, and he says, "Now, before I even ask, you want to explain to me what you were just doing?" And I said, "I'm just, having a good time." And he asked me, "How many do you think you've had for tonight?" And I said, "Oh, just a couple of beers." Just kind of the typical response. And he says, "Well," said, "I think you've driven your last day." And it was right about that time that I woke up. And a lot of that ties in, obviously, my coworker who I work with every day. I was thinking about my old house a few weeks back, and I actually drove out there to see it, and sure enough, it's changed a lot. And I'm thinking that was part of the dream. I don't know about all the cats and dogs, and I don't know why the whole cooked dog or cat thing came up. I'm not real sure. But there has been some news lately. A local guy who was in a fighting ring or something. I can't remember exactly, or killed dogs or something. But anyway, I was probably thinking about that. And then a few days ago, I was at work and I was talking with a guy that's older than me, and he said that when he was 18, he had a six-pack and he was drinking it. He said back then, he said that if he ever got pulled over with open beer, he was drinking or whatever, the cop would usually just pour it out right in front of him and tell him to get out of here. Back in the old days. So I was thinking about that, and a lot of stuff has changed obviously since then, but not real sure where my dad really comes into the whole thing, but obviously I didn't want to disappoint him or something. So, another great dream.